to our series of interviews with Euro's amazing members all over the world. It is my great pleasure today to speak with Rohit Kumar, the co-founder and joint managing director at Ikan Relocations, operating across India. But where are you based? Where are you actually right now?
I'm in New Delhi.
New Delhi. First of all, I've got to give a big shout out to your teams who have absolutely embraced the MIM program brilliantly and have done so much work. So, well done them. That's a real commitment, and we're very, very, very pleased that they did that. So my first question, it's great to see you. We were just saying before the recording started, it's been too long. How are you doing?
Oh, very well. I mean, I'm an optimist like how, and I'm very, very. I'm very sure that this problem will be gone by next year when we look back and say, hang on, did we overreact to a situation? We look back and probably laugh at it and say, listen, what were we doing? What were we thinking? We might even be beating up WHO at the end of it for having, taken it to such, such levels of and reactions. So we are well. Our company's office opened up in May itself. As soon as the Indian government allowed offices to open, all of us were at work, and we have been supporting our customers from office since May. And before that, of course, remotely, everybody was at work. So.
And how did that? I mean, how was that for you? Because I know that the lockdown was quite intense, right? So you all had to go and remotely work, but was that okay for the teams? Were you able to manage that?
There was some psychological impacts, I would say, because after all, we're all social people. We want to get out. We want to go to the office. We want to talk to people. It's great to be at home for 7 days, 10 days, 15 days. But when it gets longer than that, your wife becomes a problem. Your children become a problem. Strangely so, but unfortunately, and you're craving to be back to your colleagues. You're craving to have that fun that you used to have in office, getting together, and then so that was pretty severe on most of these guys. So when we had the opportunity to open offices, everybody was raring to get back. So
yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. We were having that conversation yesterday, and I mean, I think pretty well everybody feels that way. I think for some people, it's nice not to have to commute every day. But what we've noticed is you don't have that creativity when you're working remotely because you're not talking all the time. You're not having those creative conversations.
And to be frank with you, when I traveled to the UK and to the United States and even to Western Europe, I realized a lot of people live outside cities. They're about an hour away, which could be 100 miles. And they're used to traveling into the city to work and from work from home very often. But in densely populated cities like Delhi, for instance, or Bangalore or Mumbai, people live within the city municipal limits. And for them, it is a daily transit to work, which is about half an hour or 45 minutes still, but they may be just traveling 5 to 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
For them, coming into office is a chore, which they do every day, and they're very comfortable with that.
That's great that you were all back in so quickly. I mean, so just tell me, I know we were just talking before we started the recording that, the press around the world have gone crazy. But how are things in India? I know there's been a lot of reporting, certainly in Europe, about the situation. How is it in reality?
It's very silly, if you personally ask me. Our media, is very well known for seeking TRP points. So they would probably get an issue of the day, and they'll talk about it for a week, 10 days till it gets blown over. So that period of time, the media was on it like a rash. And, it kind of, everybody was talking about it and everybody was scared, and they put the fear of God into them or fear of COVID into them and so on and so forth. So I'll put the blame to the media for doing what they did in terms of bringing this economy to a stop, so to speak. But when I look at it in reality and in the perspective of things, as statistics go, today we are 5 million infections in India, out of which 4 million are cured. So actually infected today are a million. Okay. Now, someone could say, hang on, that's a large number. But when you look at the population of India, which is a billion plus, it's a very minuscule amount. And considering that this nation is highly dense, very densely populated, extremely large, the infrastructure is, is diverse, and it's a state-driven infrastructure. So you will see that only 2 or 3 states which has the majority of those infections, and they have cured them all. And the infections are also not that severe. And then to add to that, we have a young population with a very strong immunities, built-in immunity in most of them. For instance, my household help, he about 10 days back contacted COVID. Or actually, he fell ill. Okay, so he had fever for a couple of days, and I was traveling at that time, so I was not in Delhi. But when I got back, so I got to know that he had fever for a couple of days, and the third day his fever was gone, and then he had body ache, and the fourth or the fifth day, even that was fine, he was back on normal. Okay, but still we ran a test on him, and it turned out positive. Okay,
Right.
so then we put him into quarantine. We said you stay indoors and don't come up to the house, and so on and so forth. And then 10 days later we ran a second test on him, and no COVID, gone.
Wow.
He was asymptomatic, but he was as normal as one can be. So that is probably majority of the cases are like that here in this country.
That's really interesting. And then from the point of view as well, that, you were exposed, or you were traveling at the time, but when you got back, you were still exposed to the virus and you were fine?
Yeah, he was already quarantined into his room.
Right.
He wasn't going out. So there have been no other symptoms in the house after that. So everyone's fine. So thank
Yeah.
God for
It's really interesting. Ursula Ben Gunston, the previous president of Eura, she and her husband both contracted it. Her husband was actually, this was right at the beginning when it seemed to be much more severe. But she said the same thing. She was like, I had a temperature, I had aches and pains for a couple of days, and then I was fine. So,
fine.
yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? And then other people get really sick, don't they?
Yeah.
So
So I support Trump for not supporting WHO.
So tell me, how is the situation with ICANN? How is the situation with work and transfers?
Yeah. So we've had a drop in business.
Sure.
Everybody. So I would say about 70%.
Right.
Yeah, in the short run. So let's say from April onwards, so we had an offsite in March, 14th or 15th of March, we had an offsite, and there was just this thought of the COVID coronavirus coming around, and we didn't even have an inkling that we're going to go into a lockdown and what's going to happen after that. So 15th March, we had a discussion, said, listen, if it blows up, we should be ready for the eventualities of it. So we had a discussion there, and then that was it. We forgot about it. 6 days later, the lockdown started. So and it became a reality. Now, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you know that Mr. Donald Trump had come to India in February. Okay.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and we filled up these stadiums with people, invited him there, greeted him, and celebrated his, coming to India. And nobody knew there was COVID, right? So ignorance is bliss in many ways as well. If you personally ask me, COVID has been around since November 2019, and I'm sure it has traveled all over the world in that period of time. Only by March, when we were when the danger bells went, did we get aroused to that. But otherwise, so till we didn't know it, we were happy. But so I spoke to my boys that when the lockdown started, I said, listen, this might be a long haul, and we need to ensure that our working capital lasts. That's primary. Second objective was we need to ensure that there's not a single job loss. Okay. And the third objective was that when we come out of it, we come out a stronger, better team. So MIM came at the right time. They are better educated. And yesterday I was talking to Diwakar and saying, listen, we've done what we've done very well, because when the forces of when the armed forces of various countries are not at war with each other, then what are they doing? They're drilling, they're practicing, they're exercising, they're getting better at what they're supposed to do. And eventually, if there is ever war, they are a better fighting force. And that's exactly what our focus on our teams has been in the last 3 months. Get them to be better at their work, what they do. We have been training.
That's fantastic. That's really great. And it's such a positive way. And a lot of your members have said the same thing, that, we're faced with the situation. What do? We make the best of it, we innovate, and we move forward, which is what makes, this industry so amazing. So tell me, how is the national mood? I know India is a huge country, and I'm sure it varies from state to state, right?
I think nobody talks about COVID any longer.
Seriously? Wow.
Nobody talks about it. It's gone. The other day, when I was coming back into Delhi, I had gone over to the mountains for a few days to my home there. Coming back in, I took an alternate route. I took a route not on the highway, but through a few villages.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. There was no social distancing. It was like normal. There was a multitude of humanity, and nobody cared. So that's okay.
It's so different. And how are you living your life?
So I go to work every day. I'm in by 9 a.m. I give a liberty to my staff to come in at their convenience.
That's great.
But come in. Right?
Yeah.
We let go people early as well. We have not moved to a longer weekend. We're still observing a 2-day weekend. I come back around 4 p.m. I'm back home. Then I spend time with the dog. Her name is Laila, by the way. Mm-hmm. And she has got used to me being at home as well.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's the other problem I'm going to face very soon.
Yes.
So when I get ready to go to work, she goes into a dismal mood. So she's got used to me being around. So that's good. And so I spend time with her, take her out for walks. And then in the evening, go for some exercises and stuff like that. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I hit the golf course.
Right.
And I'm trying to bring my handicap down.
Excellent.
So if there is a game, there was a game planned in Seville by some of our partners last year. Didn't happen, but I'm sure they will do it now in June.
Yep.
So my handicap is a focus now, so that I don't make a fool of myself on the golf course when we meet in June.
So it's life is normal, and how are things? I mean, are there still restrictions in place? You said you were going through the villages, social distancing is gone. What is still supposed to be happening, and what is really happening?
So what they're doing now is that they're identifying these pockets where there is a high incidence of corona, and they're containing it. And then they're containing it and they're monitoring it. And when there's a reduction, they decontain it. So now, instead of locking down the whole country or locking down entire villages and towns and cities, they're doing pockets. Lockdown or contain it, they call it containment zones now, and monitor and focus on it, ensure people get okay, and then move on to the next containment zone. So that's how it is. And I think it's a good way to go about it.
And how are people, I mean, are the shopping malls open? Are the restaurants open? How's that working?
Yeah, all restaurants are now open. They can serve liquor, which was not allowed for a long time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we can go have good beer. All restaurants are open. They're supposed to practice social distancing. So the density of the restaurants has been reduced. The number of headcounts that can go in at one time are less. Markets are open. So if I need to need to buy new clothes, I can easily do that. I can walk into malls. On the other hand, are still closed.
Really?
Yeah, because they're air conditioned and they're high density. So the malls are still closed. But other than that, standalone markets, everything is high streets. They're all open now.
So it seems great that life is getting back to a different normal.
Absolutely, I think so as well. And as long as we, ensure that we don't succumb to the pressures imposed on us by our own minds many times, we should and remain positive. We should go through it. And next year, as I said, this time we look back and say, "Hang on, we went through that. We realized it was a black swan event.
Yes,
and we accept it to be a black swan event." And move on.
Yeah, you chimed in exactly what I was talking with Sabine Bayerlocker, and we were talking about bias. She's doing a great a Min Plus for us on bias, and we were talking about confirmation bias and where we take our news from. And I think the world at the moment is split into two groups of people. There's the group of people who look through the newspaper and the news to see, oh my God, this is terrible, the world is coming to an end. And there are the people like you and I who are looking for the good stories, life is getting back to normal. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is we can't possibly live the way we've been asked to live. It's not going to happen. And if more and more of us come to that understanding and conclusion that this is not how we're going to lead the rest of our lives, we want normalcy.
Yeah.
Yes, and so if you look at it positively, death rates have actually gone down. The number of accidents in India have reduced. People are not on the roads anymore. Okay, doctors are not killing patients any longer. So all the cancer patients are living, all the heart patients are living because doctors haven't got their hands onto them. Okay, the COVID, the COVID death rate in India is about 1.8, and I think the global average is 2. So in a way, the COVID also helped clean up the environment as well. When the lockdowns happened, the Delhi sky was never clearer.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Change does come in its wake. Rohit, it's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is, to talk with you. I hope very much that we get to see each other soon, because it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Let's catch up again at the end of the winter, at the beginning of the year, something like that. See how you're doing then. That'd be great.
Certainly, sir. In fact, I was telling someone the other day that one of the investments I made in February was to buy a tuxedo, my first tuxedo, and I was going to wear it for the gala dinner at the
Right.
Europe.
Uh-huh.
That investment has gone down the drain for one. Hopefully next year my waist will be of the same size.
Well, I have the same problem. When we were in doing the conference in Ho Chi Minh, I had a jacket made for the gala dinner. Whether it will still fit me next year, I do not know. But
yeah, I need to wear it at least once.
It's been great to catch up with you. Like I say, let's catch up again in a few months' time. But in the meantime, stay safe and stay well, and my very best to your brilliant team.
And to you also, to your team, and to Tad, please give my regards.
I absolutely will. Lovely to speak with you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.